Toyin Ayodeji learned 3 things in the span of one morning that would destroy her carefully planned life. First, she was pregnant. Second, the father wasn't some random businessman she'd met at a charity gala. He was Kang Jae-hyun, the youngest and most dangerous mafia boss in Seoul. And third, he just walked into her tiny studio apartment without knocking, locked the door behind him, and said the words that made her blood run cold. "You're carrying my child. That makes you mine now." Toyin stood frozen in her kitchen, still holding the positive pregnancy test she'd taken 20 minutes ago. Her heart slammed against her ribs as she stared at the man who should have been a forgettable mistake. A single night of reckless passion she was trying desperately to forget. 6 weeks. It had been 6 weeks since the masquerade gala, 6 weeks since she'd crashed into a masked stranger and felt electricity shoot through her veins, 6 weeks since she'd woken up alone in a penthouse suite with nothing but the ghost of his touch on her skin. But Jae-hyun didn't look forgettable, not with those dark, predatory eyes that tracked her every movement, not with the black ink curling up his throat, Korean characters she couldn't read mixed with dragon scales that disappeared beneath his collar, not with the way he invaded her space like he owned it, owned her. "How did you—" her voice cracked. "How did you even get in here?" He tilted his head toward the door. "Your landlord was very cooperative." "You bribed?" "I told you," he said softly, stepping closer until she could smell his cologne, expensive, dark, bergamot and cedar. "You're mine. I always know where what's mine is." Her back hit the counter. Nowhere left to run. "I don't belong to you," she whispered, hating how her body betrayed her, how her skin remembered his touch, how heat pooled low in her belly despite the fear, how her hands wanted to reach for him even as her mind screamed danger. Jae-hyun leaned in, his hand settling on the counter beside her hip, caging her in. His voice dropped to a rough whisper that sent shivers down her spine. "You didn't belong to me 6 weeks ago, but now?" His gaze dropped to her still, flat stomach, and something fierce and primal flashed in his eyes. "Now you're carrying my air, and I protect what's mine, even if you hate me for it." Toyin's hands clenched into fists, her mother's voice echoing in her head. "Never let a man think he owns you, Omo me. You can't just—" "Pack your things," he interrupted, straightening. "All business now, cold, commanding. You're moving into my penthouse tonight, non-negotiable." "I'm not going anywhere with you." He pulled something from his jacket, a folder, and dropped it on her counter beside the jollof rice she'd cooked last night. Photographs spilled out, images of her walking to work, getting coffee at that cafe in Itaewon, laughing with coworkers outside the hotel kitchen, and in every single photo, there was a red circle around someone in the background. Different faces, different places, same threatening presence. Her stomach dropped. Cold sweat broke out across her palms. "You have enemies now," Jae-hyun said quietly. "My enemies. They know about the baby. They know about you, and they will use you to get to me." Her chest tightened, ribs squeezing around her lungs. "Why would they?" "Because in my world, an heir means power, and power means people will kill for it." His jaw tightened, a muscle jumping beneath the ink on his neck. "You have 2 choices, Toyin. Come with me and live, or stay here and pray they show you mercy before they pull the trigger." She pressed her hand to her stomach, protective, instinctive. The apartment suddenly felt too small, too exposed, the windows too accessible, every shadow a threat. "Why do you even care?" she asked, voice breaking. "You don't know me. One night doesn't mean it means everything." The intensity in his eyes stole her breath. "That baby inside you is mine. You are mine, and I don't care if you hate me, fear me, or curse my name every day for the rest of your life." He stepped closer, and she could feel the heat radiating off him, could see the slight tremor in his fingers, the only crack in his control. "You are mine. Now pack." She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him to go to hell, but her hands were shaking and her mind kept flashing back to those photographs, strangers watching her, circling her like prey. But here's what Toyin didn't know yet. The man standing in her kitchen wasn't just offering protection, he was offering a prison. And the bars, they were made of something far more dangerous than steel. Wondering if Toyin will survive this dangerous world, or if Jae-hyun's obsession will destroy them both. Subscribe now, because the real storm is just beginning. I have a job, she said weakly. A visa. I can't just... Handled. He pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. Your employer has been compensated. Your visa extended indefinitely under my sponsorship. Your mother in Houston will receive a deposit tomorrow morning, enough to cover your sister's college tuition. Toyin's chest tightened, anger flaring hot and sharp. You researched my family? I researched everything. His gaze softened, barely but enough to make her breath catch. I know you send money home every month. I know your mother works 2 jobs at the hospital. I know your sister Folek wants to study medicine but can't afford it. He paused. Let me take care of you, all of you. It should have felt like manipulation, like a gilded cage being assembled around her. But God help her, it felt like relief. This is insane, she whispered. Yes, he didn't deny it. But you're out of time to debate it. As if on cue, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and his expression went dark, lethal. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. They're moving faster than I thought. He grabbed her wrist, gentle but firm. We're leaving now. Wait, I need to... Now, Toyin. The urgency in his voice cut through her hesitation. She grabbed her purse, her passport, the small wooden elephant her father had carved before he died. His hand stayed on the small of her back as he guided her toward the door, and she hated how safe that touch made her feel. In the hallway, 2 men in dark suits waited, faces impassive, hands folded. Jae-hyun spoke to them in rapid Korean, his tone clipped and authoritative. They bowed slightly and flanked them as they moved. Who are they? She asked as they descended the stairs, her chef clogs echoing against concrete. My men. And who are you? Really? He didn't answer until they reached the underground parking garage. A black Mercedes waited, engine purring. He opened the door for her, and when she hesitated, his fingers brushed her cheek, so gentle it made her heart stutter. I'm the man who will burn this city down before I let anyone touch you, he said quietly, his thumb tracing her jawline. Remember that. She slid into the car, leather cool against her skin, and as Jae-hyun closed the door behind her, Toyin caught her reflection in the tinted window. She looked terrified. She looked trapped. But worst of all, she looked like she was already his, and maybe, just maybe, she'd been his since the moment their eyes met 6 weeks ago at that masquerade gala, when a masked stranger caught her before she fell and whispered in her ear, "Stay with me tonight." She should have said no then, but she hadn't. And now there was no escape, not from him, not from the life growing inside her, and definitely not from the war she'd just been dragged into. The penthouse wasn't what Toyin expected. She'd imagined cold marble, sterile white walls, the kind of lifeless luxury that screamed money but whispered nothing. Instead, warm light spilled across dark wood floors. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the glittering Seoul skyline, Namsan Tower piercing the night like a guardian. Traditional Korean art hung beside modern abstract pieces, and in the corner, she spotted something that made her breath catch, a small bookshelf filled with Nigerian authors, Achebe, Adichie, and Macheda. He'd been planning this. Your room is down the hall, Jae-hyun said, shrugging off his jacket. The movement revealed more ink, dragons coiling down his forearms, their scales rendered in intricate detail. Mine is across from yours. Separate rooms? The question slipped out before she could stop it. His eyes darkened, something hungry flickering in their depths. Did you want to share mine? Heat flooded her cheeks. No, I just thought... You thought I'd force you into my bed? He stepped closer, and she caught the edge in his voice. I'm many things, Toyin, but I'm not that. She wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly aware of how thin her chef's uniform was, how his gaze tracked the movement, how the air between them felt charged, electric, the same way it had 6 weeks ago when his hands had mapped every inch of her skin. Why the books? She asked, deflecting. Because you're staying. Simple. Absolute. And you'll need something familiar while you adjust. Adjust to being your prisoner, you mean? His jaw tightened. My wife. The word hit her like a physical blow, her chest constricted, ribs squeezing tight. Excuse me, we're getting married. He said it like he was discussing the weather. Publicly, legally, it's the only way to protect you and the baby. No. The word came out strangled. Absolutely not. You can't just... Her hands shook as she pressed them against her temples. I don't know you. I don't know anything about you except you're apparently a criminal who stalked me for 6 weeks and saved your life tonight. His voice went cold. Those men circling you, they weren't going to wait much longer. That doesn't mean I'm going to marry you. Her voice rose, panic finally breaking through. Marriage? Are you insane? I have a life, a plan. I was supposed to go home in 2 months and plans change. Not like this, they don't. She backed away, needing space, needing air. This is kidnapping. This is protection. He didn't follow her, but his presence filled the room anyway. You think you have a choice, but you don't. Not anymore. The moment you conceived my child, you became a target. So what? You just own me now? Yes. No hesitation. No apology. That's exactly what I'm saying. Her nails bit into her palms. She wanted to scream, to throw something, to run. But where would she run to? She was trapped, and he knew it. A door opened behind them, breaking the suffocating tension. A woman entered, 50s, kind eyes, traditional hanbok in deep blue. She bowed slightly to Jae-hyun, then smiled warmly at Toyin. This is Mrs. Kang, Jae-hyun said, his tone softening. She'll help you with anything you need. She doesn't speak much English, but... 안녕하세요, Toyin said quietly, bowing despite everything. Mrs. Kang's face lit up. She responded in rapid Korean, gesturing animatedly, and Toyin caught the warmth in her voice even if she couldn't understand the words. She says, you're too thin, Jae-hyun translated, something almost like amusement flickering across his features. And that pregnant women need to eat. She's making you myeokguk, seaweed soup. It's traditional for expectant mothers. Toyin's throat tightened. This stranger was showing her more maternal care than she'd felt in years. Tell her, Ose. Mrs. Kang squeezed her hand gently, then disappeared toward the kitchen. The moment she left, the tension snapped back into place. You can't keep me here forever, Toyin said. Watch me. He moved to the bar cart, poured himself whiskey. Didn't offer her any. Because of the baby, she realized. You'll marry me. You'll smile for the cameras. You'll convince my world that you're mine by choice. And if I refuse, you won't. He took a slow sip, eyes never leaving hers. Because if they think for 1 second that you're here against your will, they'll position themselves as your saviors, rescue you, and then, his voice dropped to something lethal, then they'll kill you and cut my child from your womb before you can even scream. Ice flooded her veins. You're lying. I wish I was. He turned to face her fully, and for the first time she saw something other than control in his eyes, fear. My world doesn't have mercy, Toyin. It has predators and prey, and right now, you're prey carrying something they want. What Toyin didn't realize yet was that Jae-hyun wasn't exaggerating. In 72 hours, someone would try to kill her. Someone inside his own organization. Someone he trusted. I need air, she whispered. The balcony... alone. Something flickered across his face, but he nodded. 5 minutes. She escaped to the balcony, Seoul's night air cool against her overheated skin. The city sprawled below, millions of lights, millions of people living normal lives. She pressed her hand to her stomach. I'm sorry, she whispered to the life inside her. I'm so sorry. Don't apologize for surviving. She spun. Jae-hyun stood in the doorway, backlit by warm light. I wasn't supposed to want you, he said quietly, moving beside her. That night was supposed to be nothing, a distraction. His hands gripped the railing, knuckles white. But then you laughed, and I forgot how to breathe. Her heart stuttered. Don't. Don't what? Don't pretend this is about feelings. This is about control, about owning me. Yes, he didn't deny it, but that doesn't make it less real. He turned to her, and the intensity in his gaze stole her breath. I am obsessed with you. I think about you every waking moment. I dream about you. His jaw clenched. I know it's sick. I know it's wrong, but I can't stop. You're mine, Toyin. You've been mine since the moment you crashed into me. She should have been terrified. Instead, heat pooled low in her belly. Traitorous, unwanted heat. This isn't love, she whispered. No, he agreed, his hand coming up to cup her face. It's something far more dangerous. His thumb brushed her lower lip, and she felt that touch everywhere. Her racing heart, her trembling knees, the ache between her thighs that remembered him too well. I should hate you, she breathed. You should. His forehead pressed against hers, close enough to feel his breath, not close enough to kiss. But you don't. Not completely. Her hands fisted in his shirt, caught between pulling him closer and shoving him away. You're impossible. I know. His phone buzzed, once, twice. He ignored it, his focus entirely on her, on the way her pulse jumped in her throat, the way her breathing quickened. The phone buzzed again, insistent. He cursed softly in Korean, pulling back just enough to check the screen. His expression went from heated to murderous in seconds. What? She asked. Get inside, now. His hand found the small of her back, already guiding her toward the door. What's happening? Someone's coming. He pulled out another phone, this one she hadn't seen before, and barked orders in rapid Korean. Someone I didn't invite. They'd barely crossed into the living room when the private elevator chimed. Jae-hyun moved in front of her instantly, his body a wall between her and whatever was coming. The doors opened, and the most beautiful woman Toyin had ever seen stepped out. Designer dress, perfect makeup, and eyes that promised murder. She looked at Jae-hyun first, her smile razor sharp. Then her gaze slid to Toyin, and the temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Jae-hyun, she purred in Korean-accented English. Aren't you going to introduce me to your guest? Get out, Min Seo. His voice was ice, pure, lethal ice. Min Seo laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Oh, I don't think so. Not until I meet the woman who thinks she can take what's mine. She moved toward Toyin, and Jae-hyun's hand shot out, catching her wrist. Touch her, and I'll break every bone in your body. Min Seo's smile widened. Still so protective. It's almost sweet. She turned her attention back to Toyin, looking her up and down with pure disdain. So you're the nobody carrying his bastard. Toyin's hands clenched into fists. Excuse me? Did he tell you about me? Min Seo tilted her head, expression mocking. Did he tell you we were engaged? That I was supposed to be his wife? That I was supposed to give him heirs? Her voice turned venomous. Or did he just bed you and forget to mention he already had someone waiting? The words hit like physical blows. We were never engaged, Jae-hyun said, his voice deadly calm. Your father proposed an alliance. I refused. You refused after you got what you wanted from me. I never wanted anything from you. Min Seo's perfect mask cracked, rage flooding her features. She looked at Toyin again, and this time, there was nothing but hatred in her eyes. Enjoy him while you can, she said softly, because women who get close to Kang Jae-hyun don't tend to live very long. And with that, she turned and walked back to the elevator, her heels clicking against marble. The doors closed. Silence. Toyin's legs gave out. She sank onto the nearest chair, her whole body shaking. She's the one, she whispered. Isn't she? The one who's been trying to kill you. Jae-hyun's jaw tightened. Yes. And now she knows about me, about the baby. Yes. Toyin looked up at him, fear and fury warring in her chest. How long do I have, before she tries to kill me too? His silence was answer enough. Morning came with the smell of something Toyin hadn't expected, jollof rice. She'd barely slept, maybe 2 hours total, her mind spinning with Min Seo's threats and the weight of everything crashing down on her. But that smell pulled her from the window seat where she'd finally dozed off, wrapping around her like a memory of home. She found Mrs. Kang in the kitchen, transferring rice from containers into a pot, adding her own touches, extra spices, adjusting the heat. The older woman looked up and smiled, gesturing enthusiastically at the stove. "For you," she said in careful English, then launched into rapid Korean that Toyin couldn't follow but understood anyway. "You need to eat. The baby needs to eat." Toyin's throat tightened. "You're making jollof rice?" Mrs. Kang beamed and nodded, ladling a generous portion onto a plate. She'd even added fried plantains on the side, clearly prepared fresh this morning. "How did you—" Toyin's voice cracked. "I told her." She turned. Jae-hyun stood in the doorway, dressed in a crisp black suit, but looking as exhausted as she felt. His eyes were bloodshot, jaw tight with tension he was trying to hide. "I had it delivered last night from a Nigerian restaurant in Itaewon," he said. "Mrs. Kang wanted to add her own touch this morning, make it fresh for you." Something cracked in Toyin's chest. This woman, this stranger, had woken up early to reheat and perfect her home food, because a Mafia boss asked her to, because despite everything, he was trying. "Thank you," she whispered to Mrs. Kang, pressing her hand to her heart. "Oh, sepupo." Mrs. Kang's eyes misted. She squeezed Toyin's hand, said something soft in Korean, then excused herself, giving them privacy. Silence settled over the kitchen. "You didn't sleep," Jae-hyun observed. "Neither did you." Toyin sat at the counter, the plate of food in front of her. Her stomach growled, betraying her despite everything. "What were you doing all night?" "Securing the building, changing codes, running background checks on everyone who's had access to this penthouse in the last 6 months." He took a long sip of coffee, and she noticed the slight tremor in his hand. "Making sure Min Seo can't surprise us again." "Can she? Surprise us?" "Not anymore." His voice carried absolute certainty. "I've tripled security. No one gets within 50 feet of you without me knowing." Toyin took a bite of rice, and the taste exploded on her tongue. Home, safety, her mother's kitchen. Tears pricked her eyes before she could stop them. "It's good?" Jae-hyun asked, watching her carefully. "It's perfect." She wiped her eyes quickly. "It tastes like home." Something softened in his expression. That was the point. They sat in comfortable silence while she ate, and Toyin realized this was the first meal she'd had in weeks that didn't make her nauseous. The first time since discovering the pregnancy that food actually tasted like something other than cardboard. "I have something for you," Jae-hyun said when she'd finished. He pulled a small box from his pocket, set it on the counter between them. Her heart stuttered. "If that's a ring—" "It's not." He slid the box toward her. "Open it." Inside was a phone, sleek, expensive, already powered on. "Your mother's number is programmed in," he said. "Your sister's, too. You can call them whenever you want. There are no restrictions." Toyin stared at the phone, then at him. "You're letting me call home?" "You're not a prisoner, Toyin." He said it gently, like he was trying to convince himself as much as her. "You're under protection. There's a difference." "Is there?" But her fingers were already closing around the phone, clutching it like a lifeline. "Yes." He stood, moving to the window with his coffee. Morning light cut across his profile, highlighting the exhaustion etched into every line of his face. A prisoner would be locked in a room, monitored, controlled. You have freedom here, within reason. Within reason, meaning I can't leave. Would you? He turned to look at her, and the vulnerability in that question stole her breath. "If I opened that elevator right now and told you to go, would you?" Toyin opened her mouth to say yes. Of course yes. But the words stuck in her throat, because Min Seo's face flashed through her mind, those cold eyes, that promise of violence, and she remembered the photographs, strangers circling her, waiting. "I don't know," she admitted. "At least you're honest." He set his cup down with deliberate care. "I have meetings today. Business that can't wait. But Mrs. Kang will be here, and there are guards stationed throughout the building. I don't want guards hovering. They won't hover, but they'll be close. No room for negotiation. Until I know exactly who leaked your location to Min Seo, I can't take chances." What neither of them knew yet was that the leak had come from inside, from someone Jae-hyun trusted completely, and that person was watching them right now, reporting every word back to the woman who wanted Toyin dead. "How long?" Toyin asked. "How long do I have to live like this?" "I don't know." The honesty hurt worse than a lie. "But I'm working on it. Min-seo's father. He's the key. If I can convince him she's become a liability..." "You mean if you can prove she killed that girl, Ji-woo?" His hands clenched into fists. "Yes. And if you can't prove it, then we do this the hard way, which is, you don't want to know." She probably didn't, but she was starting to realize that ignorance wouldn't protect her. Not in his world. "I want to learn Korean," she said abruptly. "Properly, not just phrases." Surprise flickered across his face. "Why?" "Because if I'm stuck here, I want to understand what people are saying. She hesitated. "I want to understand you when you speak it." Something vulnerable crossed his expression. "I'll arrange a tutor. She can start tomorrow. And I want to cook." The words came faster now, fueled by desperate need for control. "I'm a chef. I need to do something with my hands or I'll go insane." "The kitchen is yours." He gestured around them. "Mrs. Kang will be thrilled. She's been trying to teach me for years." "You can't cook?" "I can order takeout very efficiently." A ghost of a smile. "Does that count?" Despite everything, the danger, the fear, the impossible situation, Toyin laughed, real and surprised and so unexpected it made them both freeze. "There it is," he murmured. "That laugh." The air shifted, charged. He crossed the kitchen slowly, giving her time to move away. She didn't, couldn't. Her body remembered him too well, remembered the way his hands felt, the way he'd whispered her name. "I need to tell you something," he said, stopping just close enough that she could feel his body heat. "About that night, the gala." Her pulse jumped. "What about it?" "I didn't plan it." His hand came up, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. The gesture was so gentle it made her ache. "There'd been an attempt on my life an hour before, poison in my drink. I was shaken, needed air, and then you crashed into me." Toyin remembered, the wine cart tipping, her desperate grab for balance, his arms catching her before she fell. "You looked at me like I'd saved you," he continued, voice rough, "not like I was dangerous, just grateful. And I thought maybe for one night I could be just a man." His thumb traced her cheekbone. "Not a boss, not a target, just someone who wanted to know your name." "You never asked my name that night," she whispered. "I know, because if I knew it, you'd become real. And if you were real..." His forehead pressed against hers. "I'd never be able to let you go." Her hands found his chest, intending to push him away, but her fingers curled into his shirt instead, holding on. "This is insane," she breathed. "I know. We're strangers. We made a life together." His hand slid to her stomach, protective, possessive, impossibly gentle. "That makes us more than strangers." She should argue, should pull away, but his hand on her stomach felt like a promise. "One condition," she said, "anything. If we're doing this marriage, I need honesty. No more secrets, no more decisions made without..." He kissed her, soft and achingly tender, like he was trying to memorize the shape of her mouth, like she was precious, his. Toyin's resistance crumbled, her hand slid into his hair, and he groaned against her mouth, a sound of relief and hunger. Then his phone buzzed in his pocket, once, twice, 3 times. He pulled back, breathing hard, and checked the screen. His expression went from heated to lethal in seconds. "What?" Toyin asked, fear creeping up her spine. He made a call, spoke rapid Korean, his voice clipped, furious. When he hung up, his jaw was tight enough to shatter. "Your apartment," he said carefully. "There was a fire early this morning, before dawn." The world tilted. "What?" Someone said it deliberately. His hands gripped the counter on either side of her. "My men were watching it. That's how we know. They called it in, but..." He stopped. "Everything's gone, Toyin. They made sure of it." "Why?" Her voice came out strangled. "Why would..." "Because they want you to know there's nowhere to run, no life to go back to." His eyes blazed with fury. "They're telling you that you belong here now, with me." Her hands shook. Everything she owned, her clothes, her photos, the wooden elephant from her father, gone, turned to ash by someone who wanted to trap her. "Who did this?" she whispered. "I don't know yet." The promise in his voice was dark, absolute. "But I will find out. And when I do—" His hand cupped her face. "No one threatens what's mine and lives to talk about it." And despite the fear coursing through her veins, despite the absolute insanity of everything, Toyin realized something terrifying. She believed him. Worse, part of her wanted him to follow through. 3 weeks had changed everything. Toyin stood in the penthouse kitchen, hands deep in dough for chin-chin, while Mrs. Kang watched with fascination. The older woman had been teaching her Korean cooking, kimchi jjigae, japchae, tteokbokki, and Toyin had been returning the favor with Nigerian dishes. "Like this," Toyin demonstrated, cutting the dough into small squares. "Then we fry them until golden." Mrs. Kang nodded enthusiastically, already heating oil in the pan. 3 weeks since the apartment fire, 3 weeks of Korean lessons with G-men, 3 weeks of slowly, terrifyingly starting to feel like this penthouse was home, 3 weeks of Jae-hyun looking at her like she was the only thing in the world worth protecting. He'd been different lately. Softer. He'd started joining her for breakfast, teaching her Korean phrases while she taught him Yoruba. He'd had her books shipped from Houston. He'd even laughed last week when she'd accidentally cursed at him in Yoruba after he'd stolen the last piece of Puff Puff. And the touches. God, the touches. Casual brushes in the hallway, his hand at the small of her back, fingers lingering when he passed her coffee. Nothing overt, nothing demanding, just constant, present, a steady reminder that he was there. "You happy?" Mrs. Kang asked, pointing at Toyin's face. Toyin realized she was smiling. Maybe. Mrs. Kang grinned and went back to frying. The wedding was in 2 weeks. They'd pushed it back. Jae-hyun's doing. "You should want to marry me," he'd said one night. "Not just agree because you're scared." Her phone buzzed. A text from Jae-hyun. "Dinner tonight? Just us. I'm cooking." She laughed. "You can't cook." "I've been practicing. Meet me on the roof at 7. Her heart did something stupid and fluttery. What Toyin didn't know was that tonight would be the last peaceful moment she'd have, because the person she'd come to trust was about to betray her, and before the night ended, she'd watch Jae-hyun kill for her. The rooftop took her breath away. Fairy lights were strung across the space, casting everything in warm, golden light. A table was set for 2, and Jae-hyun stood by a portable grill, looking devastating in jeans and a black t-shirt that showed every line of ink on his arms. "You came," he said, relief in his voice. "You're actually cooking." She moved closer. "Should I be worried?" "Probably." He flipped something. Bulgogi. "But I had help. Mrs. Kang prepared everything. I'm just not burning it." The food was actually good. Better than good. "You've been holding out on me," she said. "This is delicious." Pride flickered across his face. "I wanted to give you something normal. No guards, no threats, just this." Her chest tightened. "This is nice." "Is it enough?" He set down his chopsticks. "To make you want to stay? Not because you have to, because you want to?" "I don't know yet," she said honestly, "but I'm getting there." Hope crossed his features. "That's all I can ask." "My sister called today," Toyin said. "Folake. She got accepted to medical school." "The one I'm sponsoring?" "Yes." She looked at him. "Thank you. Your family is important to you. That makes them important to me." His fingers found hers across the table. "I take care of what's mine." Her throat tightened. "Why do you care so much?" "Because you're mine." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "I don't know how to do this. Be normal, soft, but I'm trying. For you." "I know," she whispered. "I see it." "And? Is it working?" "Yes," she admitted. "It's working." The smile that spread across his face was pure joy. He stood, pulling her up with him, and then his hands were on her waist and her arms were around his neck and they were swaying to music that didn't exist. "There's no music," she said against his chest. "Don't need it." His breath was warm against her temple. Just need you. They danced in the fairy lights, soul sprawling beneath them, the world reduced to just this, his heartbeat against hers, the baby between them that had brought them together. Toyin, he murmured. If something happens, if things go wrong, I need you to promise me you'll run. Her stomach dropped. What things? What's wrong? Nothing, just... He pulled back to look at her. Promise me you'll run if I tell you to. Jae-hyun. His phone buzzed, once, twice, insistent. He cursed, checking the screen. His expression went from tender to lethal in seconds. What? Toyin asked, dread pooling in her stomach. Security alert. He was already moving, pulling her toward the door. We need to get you downstairs, now. They'd barely made it to the elevator when the lights went out. Emergency lighting kicked in, dim red that turned everything into shadows. I've got you. He pulled out his gun and positioned himself in front of her. Someone cut the power. The elevator opened. Jae-hyun's men were there, guns drawn. Report, Jae-hyun barked in Korean. Whatever they said made his face go white. What? Toyin demanded. Tae-jin, he said quietly. He's gone. Took the security codes with him. The name hit her like a physical blow. Tae-jin, the kind man who'd helped her, who'd smiled. He's working for Min Seo, has been for months. His phone buzzed again. He looked at it and cursed. He's let her people into the building. An explosion rocked the building. The force threw Toyin against Jae-hyun's chest, his arms wrapped around her, protecting her as the world shook. When the dust settled, alarms were screaming. Basement, Jae-hyun ordered his men. Get her to the tunnel. No, Toyin grabbed his shirt. I'm not leaving you. You promised. I didn't promise anything. Gunfire erupted below them. Jae-hyun kissed her, hard, desperate, tasting like goodbye. Run, he whispered against her lips. Then he was pushing her toward the stairwell, toward his men, toward safety. Toyin ran, down the stairs, her sandals slapping. Against concrete, her breath coming in panicked gasps. 2 guards flanked her, moving fast, weapons raised. Behind her, more gunfire, shouting, the sounds of violence. They hit the basement level. The door burst open. The guards moved through first, checking corners. Clear, one said. Toyin stepped into the corridor and stopped. Tae-jin stood 20 feet away, gun raised, pointed directly at her stomach, at the baby. Her hands moved instinctively, covering her belly, protecting what she could. I'm sorry, Tae-jin said, and he almost sounded like he meant it. His face was bruised, bleeding. But Min Seo pays better than loyalty. The guards raised their weapons, but Tae-jin shook his head. You shoot, I shoot. We all know whose bullet is faster. His eyes never left Toyin. Tell them to lower their guns. Don't, Toyin whispered. Her whole body was shaking. Don't listen to him. Lower them, Tae-jin said again, or I put a bullet in that baby right now. The guards hesitated. Please, Toyin's voice broke. Please, there's a baby. I'm pregnant. You don't have to. I know. His finger moved to the trigger. That's exactly why Min Seo wants you dead. No heir, no leverage, no reason for Jae-hyun to refuse her anymore. Time slowed. Toyin saw his finger tighten, saw the barrel of the gun, saw her death in his eyes. A gunshot exploded, but the pain didn't come. Tae-jin's eyes widened. Blood bloomed across his chest, a perfect circle right over his heart. He crumpled, gun clattering to the concrete. Toyin couldn't breathe, couldn't move, couldn't... Jae-hyun stepped over Tae-jin's body, gun still raised, face spattered with blood. His expression was murder incarnate, cold, lethal, absolutely merciless. He'd killed him, without hesitation, without mercy, for her. Touch her, Jae-hyun said softly to the corpse, and this is what happens. Then his eyes found Toyin, and something cracked in that cold mask. Fear, relief, raw, desperate emotion. Are you hurt? His hands were on her face, her arms checking for injuries. Did he touch you? Did he... You killed him. Her voice sounded distant, strange. You just... Yes. No apology, no regret. And I'd do it again. I'd kill anyone who threatens you. She should have been horrified, should have recoiled from the blood on his hands, the violence in his eyes. Instead, her legs gave out. He caught her, pulling her against his chest, his heart thundering beneath her ear. "I've got you," he whispered into her hair. "I've got you. You're safe. He was going to kill our baby." The words came out broken. "He was going to—" "I know." His arms tightened around her. "But he's dead now. He can't hurt you. No one can hurt you." She looked up at him, at the man who'd just killed for her, who'd stepped over a corpse like it was nothing, who held her like she was the most precious thing in the world. "This is your world," she whispered. "This is what you meant. Blood and death and—" "Yes." His thumb wiped tears from her cheek. "This is my world, and I will drown it in blood before I let it take you from me." And God help her, she believed him. Worse, she was starting to need him too. Toyin couldn't stop shaking. They'd made it to the tunnel, a cold, dark passage that stretched beneath the building. Jae-hyun's men had cleared it, secured it, but she could still see Tae-jin's face, still see the blood, still hear the gunshot echoing in her ears. Jae-hyun hadn't let go of her hand since the basement. His grip was tight, almost painful, like he was afraid she'd disappear if he loosened it even slightly. "Safe house is 10 minutes away," one of his men said in English. Jae-hyun nodded, his jaw tight. He'd wiped most of the blood from his face, but she could still see traces of it at his hairline, evidence of what he'd done. The SUV was waiting at the tunnel exit. He ushered her inside, slid in beside her, and immediately his arm was around her shoulders, pulling her against his chest. "Breathe," he murmured. "Just breathe, Toyin." She realized she'd been holding her breath. Her lungs burned as she gasped for air. "He was going to kill me." The words tumbled out. "He was going to kill our baby and you. You just—" "I know." His hand stroked her hair, steady and grounding. "I know what I did." "Does it bother you?" She pulled back to look at him. "Killing him?" "No." "Honest. Brutal. He threatened you, pointed a gun at our child. He deserved worse than a quick death." She should have been horrified, but all she felt was a strange, twisted relief that he'd been there. "I think I'm going to be sick." He grabbed a bag just in time. She retched, her body finally catching up to the trauma. He held her hair back, murmured soft words in Korean that she didn't understand but felt anyway. When she finished, he handed her water, took care of her like she was precious. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Don't apologize." His thumb brushed her cheek. "You almost died tonight. You're allowed to fall apart." The safe house was smaller than the penthouse, a modern apartment in Gangnam with floor-to-ceiling windows and minimal furniture. Jae-hyun's men swept it twice before allowing them inside. "We're secure," the head guard said. "Perimeter is locked down." "Keep 2 men on each entrance," Jae-hyun ordered. "No one gets in." The men filed out, and suddenly they were alone. Silence pressed down like a physical weight. "You should shower," Jae-hyun said quietly. "There's a bedroom down the hall. Everything you need is there." She looked down. Her yellow dress was dirty, torn. There was blood on her hands, Tae-jin's blood. "Okay," she whispered, but her legs wouldn't move. "Toyin." He was in front of her, hands gentle on her shoulders. "You're in shock. Let me help you." He guided her to the bedroom, turned on the shower, set out towels and clothes, one of his t-shirts, soft sweatpants. Then he started to leave. "Wait." Her hand shot out, catching his wrist. "Don't go." His eyes searched hers. "You want me to stay?" She nodded. "Okay." He sat on the edge of the bed. "I'm right here." The hot water helped, washed away the blood, the fear. But when she closed her eyes, she saw Tae-jin falling, saw Jae-hyun's cold expression. When she emerged, dressed in his clothes, hair dripping, he was exactly where she'd left him. "Better?" he asked. "I don't know." She sat beside him. "I keep seeing it. It'll fade." His hand found hers. "Eventually." "Does it fade for you?" Silence. "No," he finally said, "but I've learned to live with it." She looked at their joined hands. "How many people have you killed?" "Do you really want to know?" "Yes." He met her eyes. "Enough that I stopped counting years ago." The honesty should have terrified her. Instead, it felt like trust. "I should hate you," she whispered. "You should." His thumb traced circles on her palm. Any sane person would. But I don't. The admission felt like falling. I don't hate you. I don't even fear you anymore. You should fear me. His voice was raw. I'm a monster, Toyin. No. She turned to face him fully. A monster would have let him shoot me. You didn't hesitate. You just... Her voice cracked. You protected us. That doesn't make me good. Maybe not. She cupped his face. But it makes you mine. His breath caught. Say that again. You're mine. The words felt right. Just like I'm yours. What neither of them knew was that Min Seo had been watching the attack unfold, and when Tae Jin failed, she decided to handle things personally. In 48 hours, she'd make her move, and this time, there would be no escape. He kissed her then. Desperate and claiming and full of everything he couldn't say, she kissed him back, pouring 3 weeks of want and fear and impossible feelings into it. His hand slid under the t-shirt she wore, spanning her bare skin. Heat flooded her body, want mixing with relief, mixing with the desperate need to feel alive. Toyin, he breathed against her lips. We should. You're in shock. I need you. She pulled him closer. Please. I need to feel something other than fear. He searched her eyes, and whatever he saw there made his resolve crumble. He lifted her, carried her to the bed, laid her down like she was something precious. Tell me if you want to stop, he whispered. Any time. She nodded, and then his mouth was on hers again, his hands gentle but possessive, and the world narrowed to just this. His weight above her, his heart thundering against hers, the way he whispered her name like a prayer. Later, she lay in his arms, her head on his chest, his hand protective over her stomach. The wedding, she said softly. Do you still want to? More than ever. His fingers threaded through her hair. I want you legally mine. I want the world to know you're untouchable. I don't feel untouchable. You're the strongest person I know. He tilted her chin up. You survived tonight. You're still here. Because of you. No. His expression was fierce. Because of you. I just made sure you had the chance. She wanted to believe him. What happens now, she asked, with Min Seo? His jaw tightened. Now I handle it. Permanently. Meaning I'm done playing defensive. His eyes went cold. She tried to kill you. That's a declaration of war. Fear spiked through her. Jae-hyun, I won't lose you. His hand cupped her face. I can't. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure she can never threaten you again. Even if it starts a war? Especially then, his thumb brushed her cheekbone. You're worth burning the whole world down for. The certainty in his voice made her feel cherished, protected. His. I'm not going anywhere, she promised. Good. He kissed her forehead. Because I'm never letting you go. They lay in silence, danger still lurking outside. Sleep, he murmured. I'll keep watch. You need sleep, too. I'll sleep when you're safe. She wanted to argue, but exhaustion was pulling her under. The adrenaline crash, the trauma, it all caught up at once. Her last thought before sleep was that she'd meant what she said. She wasn't going anywhere, even if it killed her. Shouting woke her. Korean, rapid, angry, coming from the living room. Jae-hyun was gone, and panic spiked through her. She grabbed his shirt, pulled it on, and padded to the doorway. Jae-hyun stood in the living room, phone pressed to his ear, his expression murderous. His men surrounded him, all talking at once. What's happening? She asked. He turned, and the look on his face made her blood freeze. Min Seo, he said, she's calling for a meeting. Tomorrow, neutral ground. Why? She wants to negotiate. His laugh was bitter. Says she'll leave you alone if I agree to her terms. Toyin's stomach dropped. What terms? His jaw clenched. Marriage. To her. A merger of our syndicates. He looked at her, anguish in his eyes. She wants me to choose. You or peace? The world tilted. What are you going to do? She whispered. He crossed the room, pulled her into his arms, held her tight. I'm going to that meeting, he said against her hair, and I'm going to end this. Once and for all. How? He pulled back, and the cold calculation in his eyes was both terrifying and reassuring. By making her think I'm giving her exactly what she wants. His smile was razor sharp, and then taking everything from her. Toyin searched his face, understanding dawning. A trap. A trap, he confirmed. She thinks she has leverage. She thinks I'll sacrifice you to avoid war. His hand cupped her face. She's about to learn she's wrong. This is dangerous. Everything about us is dangerous. He kissed her forehead. But I'd rather die fighting for you than live without you. And despite the fear coursing through her veins, despite the absolute insanity of everything, Toyin realized something. She trusted him, completely, to protect her, to fight for her, to burn the world down if that's what it took. Then let's end this, she said. His eyes blazed with fierce pride. Together. Together. Tomorrow they'd face Mincio. Tomorrow the war would begin, but tonight they had each other, and that would have to be enough. The meeting was set for noon at a luxury hotel in Gangnam, neutral territory, Mincio had insisted, public enough to discourage violence, private enough for negotiation, or so she thought. Toyin stood in front of the mirror in the safe house bedroom, adjusting the traditional Korean hanbok Jae-hyun had brought her. Deep blue silk with gold embroidery, the colors of his syndicate, a statement, a claim. You don't have to come, Jae-hyun said from the doorway. He was dressed in a black suit, his tattoos hidden except for the dragons that crept up his neck. He looked every inch the dangerous man he was. Yes, I do. She turned to face him. She wants to see me broken, scared. I'm going to show her I'm neither. Pride flickered across his features. He crossed the room, hands settling on her waist. You're magnificent, he murmured. Terrifying and magnificent. I learned from the best. She straightened his tie, her hands steady despite the fear churning in her stomach. Tell me the plan again. I go in first, agree to her terms, publicly, in front of witnesses she's arranged. She thinks she's won. His jaw tightened. But what she doesn't know is that her father will be there. I've already shown him proof of what she's done. The murders, the attacks, the money she's been skimming from their syndicate. Will he believe you? He already does. He's been looking for a reason to remove her from power. She's become a liability. His thumb traced her cheekbone. When I walk away from our deal, he'll handle her. Internally. No war. No bloodshed. Except hers. Except hers. No apology in his voice. She tried to kill you. Tried to kill our baby. This is mercy compared to what I want to do to her. Toyin searched his eyes. Dark. Lethal. But softening when they looked at her. And if something goes wrong, then you run. He pressed something into her hand. A phone. This has one number programmed. My head of security. You press the button, he gets you out. No questions, no hesitation. I'm not leaving you. Yes, you are. His voice was steel. If this goes wrong, if Mincio's father doesn't act, if she tries anything, you run. You protect our baby. You survive. His forehead pressed against hers. Promise me. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him they'd survive together or not at all. But the desperate fear in his eyes stopped her. I promise, she whispered. That's my girl. He kissed her. Soft, achingly tender. When this is over, we're getting married. Tomorrow. No more waiting. Tomorrow, she agreed. And then? Then we live. His hand found her stomach. We raise our baby. We build something good out of all this darkness. His smile was small, but real. Maybe even be happy. Maybe even be happy, she echoed. What Toyin didn't know was that Mincio had no intention of negotiating. The meeting was a trap, one last attempt to eliminate her rival. And in 10 minutes, Toyin would have to make an impossible choice, trust Jae-hyun's plan or save herself. The hotel was beautiful, all marble and gold with crystal chandeliers that cast prismatic light across everything. Jae-hyun's men flanked them as they entered, and Toyin felt every eye in the lobby tracking their movement. Mincio waited in a private dining room on the top floor. She sat at the head of a long table, dressed in white, a mockery of a bride. Her father sat to her right, an older man with cold eyes and a harder expression. Jae-hyun-si, Min Seo purred, standing. Then her gaze slid to Toyin, and pure hatred flashed across her face. I said this was a private meeting. She stays. Jae-hyun's hand found the small of Toyin's back. She's part of this. She's the problem. Min Seo's smile was razor sharp. But I suppose it's fitting. She should see what she's losing. Enough. Min Seo's father spoke for the first time, his voice heavy with authority. Sit. Both of you. Let's discuss terms. They sat, Jae-hyun and Toyin on one side, Min Seo and her father on the other. The table felt like a battlefield. The terms are simple, Min Seo said. Marriage between Jae-hyun and myself, a merger of our syndicates, and the foreign woman, she said it like a curse, disappears. Disappears, Toyin repeated, her voice steady despite her racing heart. You mean dies. I mean becomes irrelevant. Min Seo's smile widened. We'll send you back to America, give you money. You can raise the bastard child somewhere far from here. No. Jae-hyun's voice was ice. That's not happening. Then we have nothing to discuss. Min Seo leaned back. I was hoping you'd be reasonable. For the sake of peace. For the sake of what? Her father's voice cut through. Power you've abused, money you've stolen, lives you've taken without permission. Min Seo's expression flickered, just for a second. Fear. Abeoji, what are you? I know everything. He pulled out a folder, the same one Jae-hyun had compiled. The assassinations, the embezzlement, the unauthorized attacks on allied syndicates. He slammed it on the table. You've dishonored our family, endangered everything we've built. Those are lies. They're facts. Jae-hyun's voice was calm, deadly. Financial records, security footage, testimony from your own people. He looked at her father. I gave you the evidence 2 days ago, as promised. Understanding crashed through Toyin. This was the plan. This was always the plan. Min Seo's face went white, then red with rage. She lunged across the table, but her father's hand caught her wrist. Enough, he said. You're done. Effective immediately, you're removed from all syndicate operations. You'll return home. You'll stay there. And you'll pray I decide exile is punishment enough. You can't, Min Seo's voice cracked. You can't do this. I'm your daughter. You were my daughter. His expression was stone. Now you're just a liability I'm containing. Security appeared. His men, not hers. They flanked Min Seo, waited. She looked at Jae-hyun, and the hatred in her eyes was a living thing. This isn't over. Yes, it is. Jae-hyun stood, pulling Toyin up with him. Touch her again, even think about touching her, and your father won't be able to protect you from me. I don't need protection from you. But her voice shook. You need to accept you lost. Toyin spoke for the first time since sitting down, her voice stronger than she felt. You tried to take everything from me, my life, my baby, my future, and you failed. She stepped closer, and Min Seo actually flinched. He chose me, not because he had to, because he wanted to, and no amount of threats or violence or manipulation will ever change that. Min Seo's perfect mask cracked. Tears spilled down her cheeks, rage and humiliation and loss. Take her, her father said quietly. The men escorted her out, and her sobs echoed down the hallway. When the door closed, Min Seo's father looked at Jae-hyun. The alliance between our families is over. I understand. But, he glanced at Toyin, something almost like respect